Okay, so UFC 209 is right in front of us, and I wanna actually talk about some fighters that cannot lose. Like, those fighters, if they actually lose, some of them will lose all of their hype, or their career is basically done. Like, for them to come back, they will have to, like, do another 2 or 3 performances, insane performances, and some of them could never go back to the status that they were before. So, I wanna start right now with the guys that could be fraud checked. Because the thing is, when you're an up-and-coming fighter, the worst thing that could happen to you is being badly fraud checked by someone that you should be. Like, if you lose to a guy that you should be, that's the worst that could happen to you. So the first one in the card that could like be fraud check is Mauricio Ruffy. He's gonna fight against James Lontop. The hype on Mauricio Ruffy is insane. He has a minus 750 odd against James Lontop, and if he loses this fight, I think it's his second fight in the UFC right now. If he loses his fight, or not even lose, because the thing about being fraud check, you don't even need to lose. Like, if you have a bad performance against an unranked fighter who doesn't have a big name, that counts as a fraud check, because you're not fighting against top guys in the division. If you're struggling against no name, your like hype value falls like insanely low. Like, it takes a dive. Your hype level, it takes a complete dive. For example, Khamzat Chimaev, he did not get fraud checked by Gilbert Burns because he was fighting against a number 2 contender at the time, and we knew that Gilbert Burns at that time was a killer. So it was not a fraud check. You're fighting against the best competition on the top 5. But if you make it competitive against a guy outside of the top 15, it's tough for you, man. Like, the type of thing cannot happen when you have such hype around you. So I think Mauricio Ruffy, he cannot even make the fight look competitive. He gotta style on him, do some tricks and shit. Like, go to a decision comfortably or finish the guy. Like, that's the thing. The other fraud check, which by the way is the biggest fraud check on the card by far, is Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. If Bo Nickal somehow loses this fight, it's over. Because I don't think right now in the UFC we have someone as hyped as Bo Nickal. Like, every single video that I make about Khamzat Chimaev, people like to talk about Bo Nickal, how he's gonna be the guy who's gonna win against Khamzat Chimaev and all that. Even though he did not have a good performance against Cody Brundage, who is not a big name. Like, Cody Brundage is the guy that you go kill the guy and then you make your name bigger. He did not do like a perfect performance against Cody Brundage, not as good as the performances we thought he would do. So his hype dipped a little bit during that fight. If he goes against Paul Craig, who got his ass completely beat by Caio Borralho during his last fight, and he makes somehow a competitive fight, or he even loses, I think it's over for Bo Nickal. Like, his hype is gonna go on hype bankruptcy. Like, he's gonna go on aura bankruptcy if he somehow makes it competitive against Paul Craig. Gotta go there, like, do his wrestling, dominate the fight, get a finish. If he gets a finish against a guy like Paul Craig is actually huge. But he gotta go there, like, show his wrestling, show his pedigree, show his worth, that top 15, top 10 status, and do the same until he gets to like the top 5, bro. Because the hype that people are putting on Bo Nickal, like, it's really hard to fulfill that hype. The only guy who I think actually fulfilled the entire hype people were putting on top of him is Khamzat Chimaev. The guy like literally blitzed every single guy he faced, not named Gilbert Burns and Kamaru. So Bo Nickal, for him to fulfill the hype, he needs to do almost the same as Khamzat Chimaev did, which I think is basically impossible. Right now, Bo Nickal is a minus 8,000 favorite against Bo Nickal. Like, you guys will listen how much is a plus 8,000 favorite. It's literally like Amanda Nunes level of favoritism. So the guy gotta go there, not make it competitive at all. He gotta dominate Paul Craig to like bring his name as one of the guys to win the title, to win against Khamzat Chimaev, as people are saying. And now the 2 biggest, like, if those guys, if they somehow lose, like, first of all, it will be insanely sad for me because I'm a big fan of one of those 2 guys. And second of all, I think it's over because the competition that they are facing are not on their level. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. If Charles Oliveira somehow loses Michael Chandler, which by the way I can see happening because Michael Chandler has a vicious first round and Charles Oliveira, he gets hit, so I can definitely see Michael Chandler win against Charles Oliveira. If somehow Charles loses to Michael Chandler, it's over because Michael Chandler is one of those guys. He's like the Kevin Holland of the lightweight division. Like, he loses against all the top 5 guys. He's not gonna win against any one of those guys, but he makes entertaining fights. So he's gonna be fighting like those top 5, top 10 fights until he retires. But he's that guy that you beat. Like, you cannot lose to Michael Chandler. If you lose to Michael Chandler, you're out of the conversation for a title shot for a long ass time. Even though it's Charles Oliveira, if he somehow go there, he can make it look competitive because it's Michael Chandler. No one's gonna be mad at you if you make a competitive fight against Michael Chandler. It's not the same situation as Bo Nickal fighting an unranked opponent or Ruffy fighting an unranked opponent. You can make it competitive because the guy is top 5, top 8 level, so you can make the fight competitive. But if you lose the fight, you lose so much. Like, your aura goes on bankruptcy instantly. So Charles Oliveira cannot lose that fight. If you lose that fight, it's gonna be a sad as fuck moment for me, bro. Because realistically, if he wins that fight, there's no one in title contention other than him, so he's next for the title. But if he loses that fight, he's gonna probably need to win another 2 or even 3 to get to the title again, because you know how it is with the timing in those divisions. So I hope he wins that one. If he loses, he's gonna lose so much. So I hope he wins that one. And the other one one, the biggest one for me, in my opinion, is Jon Jones and Stipe Miotic. I made a video on my channel saying that Stipe Miotic actually has a pretty good chance to win against Jon Jones. People are saying that Jon Jones is gonna run through Stipe Miotic like it's nothing. I don't think that's actually gonna happen. Yeah, I think Stipe Miotic actually has a pretty good chance to win. I would say it's like a 70-30. 70 to Jon Jones and 30 to Stipe Miotic. But it's still a pretty good odds for you to win against a guy who people are saying that is gonna destroy you and things like that. But the thing is, if Jon Jones wins against Stipe Miotic, he doesn't gain anything because people are saying that Jon Jones is gonna run through Stipe Miotic. It's not gonna be even competitive. It's gonna be an easy fight. But if somehow Stipe Miotic wins against Jon Jones, and even worse, if Stipe Miotic somehow knockouts Jon Jones or he finishes Jon Jones, so it's over. If you lose against a 42-year-old Stipe Miotic, that people are saying that like is an older guy who shouldn't be even fighting anymore.
Jones, what if I'm filthy rich and literally own not one, but two small mansions in the same town? What does that make me? I'm just curious. To that, the fan replies, all that money in the world, and you're still this much of an insecure coward. Just go fight Stipe and retire so that we can forget about you already. Keep ducking Aspinall, pal. Jon then replied, I've already agreed to make $15 million in my next fight. Hell yeah, bro. I'm about to beat this old man up and ride off into the sunset. And I hope you enjoy watching it. Will, this is Jones. Jones wrote that. I'm telling you right now, as a guy that has exchanged direct messages with him, that he wrote that. I think he wrote that. I could be proven wrong. Sure. I could be proven wrong. But
it's over, like, because even though people say that he's the best heavyweight of all time, which I do agree, he's the best heavyweight of all time, the guy's old, and he lost to Francis Ngannou. So if Jon Jones loses to Stipe Miocic right now, not only he's gonna be remembered as the guy who was inferior to Francis Ngannou, because you lose to the guy who Francis Ngannou KO'd in the second round easily after dominating the first round, even though they are 1-1, you're gonna be remembered the guy who lost to the guy who got KO'd by Francis Ngannou. You're gonna be the inferior champion to the latest champion, and you're gonna break your undefeated record to a guy who's basically retired, who didn't fight in like 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the worst scenario ever for Jon Jones. If Jon Jones lost to Tom Aspinall, for example, it would be okay, it's an honorable loss. You lost against a better guy, like you're getting old, you're 37, 38, Tom Aspinall is 31. But if he loses to Stipe Miocic, he's completely over. Like, he's completely over. The guy is gonna get called for the rest of his career. Some people are not gonna think he's the greatest of all time anymore. So I think right now the priority of Jon Jones is getting his ass into the gym and actually work hard, bro. So if for him to not lose this fight, because if he loses this fight, I think it's the most over of any fight that I've ever seen. Like, for him to bounce back again for this again, like, he's gonna, if you lose to Stipe, like, it's over. So I think that's the worst one of the card, in my opinion. What do you guys think?